we have to take a look at the newspapers.
We do, don't we? And boy, there are quite a few of them.
Yeah.
Let me get my kit out of the way.
Yeah, but we have a cameraman here. Nathaniel Amate, it's your birthday today. If your girlfriend is watching, good morning to your girlfriend.
Nate Dog, as we've decided to start calling him. Can we catch Nathan? I want to catch Nathan's face quickly. Let's have a look at Nate Dog. So, there he is.
That's Nathan
Meister himself.
Nathan,
Charlie, let's have a look at Nathan.
Nathan is celebrating his birthday.
On his birthday. And that's Frederick Potufi. Please show Nathan. It is his birthday.
Nathan is our cameraman, so we're celebrating.
You show him.
We're celebrating.
Let's go and stand there and do the newspaper. Bring your newspaper. Let's go and stand there. Come, let's go. Come with me. This Fred Potufi thinks he's a hard guy. All right. We're doing the newspaper review here with Nate. So I have the daily graphic.
So that's Nathan.
So
we're switching. So this is Nathan.
It's Nathan's birthday. Yes, Fred Pot, if you don't try me.
Yeah.
All right.
So Nathan, we love you. Love you too. Yeah, you love us, eh? Okay, so all the best, yeah?
Thank you.
All right. Okay, so that's Nathan. Well, so we have to celebrate. Sometimes we come on TV and it's not only us, it's our technical people who make this work. So sometimes we have to celebrate them because they work so hard. Nobody tends to acknowledge them.
Indeed. They make us look good all the time.
Yeah.
And Nate is just one of a massive team of expert camera technicians who do a great job every single day. That's why we appreciate them.
All right. So now, quickly, we have to look at the newspapers.
All right. So I have Daily Graphic, Ghanaian Times, and The Finder. Let me go through it quickly. Banner headline on the front page of the Daily Graphic today. KNUST reopens Friday. MPs to initiate bills. Okay. That's the full story is on page 3. MPs to initiate bills is a different, it's a different story. Yeah. So this is something that has been discussed for a very long time. When the Speaker of Parliament was appointed in his his inaugural address, one of the things he said was a goal of his was to make it possible for members of Parliament to initiate bills of their own accord in Parliament. So we look forward to what sort of bills MPs will now initiate on the floor of Parliament. And
mind you, in the US, it's a common thing in their legislature for MPs to their senators, etc., to be initiating bills.
I have a suspicion that this might make it even more necessary for us to start thinking about setting some lobbying laws. You know, to make it legal and to regulate how lobbying is done. Yes, because now that an MP can actually initiate a bill, you will see that special interest groups will start targeting these MPs, and we need to make sure that it doesn't eat away at their independence and their ability to represent their constituents, and as opposed to representing special interests.
Because in the US, what usually happens is they are able to formally source funding, because sometimes you need research, some feasibility on a certain bill that you want to undertake.
So we'll see how it all goes, but MPs certainly need a lot of support to be able to do a good job, no doubt, because can you imagine the size of the documents that come in to Parliament that MPs have to consider? If they are going to represent you well, they must read each and every one of those documents so that they can make informed decisions on your behalf on the floor of Parliament. And there are so many of these documents, so many bills passing through Parliament every single day. Do you really think your MP is able to read all of them, digest and understand them so that he can make a good choice on your behalf? He needs a team, he needs researchers, he needs to get all kinds of access to technology and information so that he can condense that information to the single most important point that he needs to know to make the right decision for you. So MPs certainly need a lot of support, and I hope this is the beginning of processes that by giving them more responsibility, they can now have more support.
Definitely.
All right, government undertakes 3,020 projects toward poverty eradication. That's reported by Daily Graphic. On the back page, One District, One Factory Secretariat approves 19 factories for Brong-Ahafo region, and Dagon youth protest inclusion of Tripone district. They protest the inclusion of Tripone district in proposed new region. Interesting. And all of those details are in the Daily Graphic. I also have the Ghanaian Times block tax loopholes to raise revenue for development. Economists and tax experts urge government. Professor Newman Kojukusi has his picture connected to this particular headline. Also, will not be pressured into severing ties with Qatar. That's according to President Akufo-Addo. As you know, the American government is seeking to put pressure on countries that seek to do business with Qatar. And we'll see whether, as a government, Ghana ends up going that way too. KNUST finally gets new governing council. That happened yesterday. Some ministers were sleeping at the meeting, according to some photographs that are circulating on social media. Minority predicts tough economic conditions for Ghanaians. That's what the minority is expecting from the budget reading tomorrow. NABDAM gets chips compound. NABDAM gets chips compound. Good for them. I hope they haven't had to wait too long for it, and I hope they haven't lost too many lives in its absence. Convert NBSSI to Enterprise Development Authority. That is a call which is being made. Okay, well, the Finder is the last paper I have here. KNUST lectures resume Monday. 5-member committee to probe the cause of the disturbance. You risk prosecution for using digital addressing code of other people, according to the National Identification Authority. Hey, should I open a church? Should I become a prophet? We may have to touch on this one later. KT Hammond's RTI fears are backward. That's being reported by the Finder as attributed to Occupy Ghana. Government sinks 927 million Ghana cedis into poverty eradication project. And Emir of Qatar hails president's governance style. Yes, the Emir likes Nana's style. I can imagine how that conversation went. Yeah. Mr. President Akufo-Addo, I like your style. You big guy. All right, what do you have?
Okay, so I have some form of education being done by the Daily Dispatch. A breakdown of the ethnic groups in all the 10 regions from the population and houses census from the last one that was compiled, 2010. Right. We also have a full list of 66 persons vying for various NDC national executive positions. Remember, we'll bring you live coverage of that event. It will be taking place trade fair here in Accra on Saturday. So please be sure that you stay tuned to JoyNews for that. John Mahama on Galamsey. And that story is expatiated on the back page of the Daily Dispatch newspaper. But let's go to the Daily Guide. Daily Guide has on the front page, Qatar leader praises Nana. And we know that the president, we're told, only went there for a day, according to a formal statement. And so it was just a day's visit. NDC Hawks on rampage, attack Alabi, Ashanti chairman and secretary. KNUST reopens Friday with an accompanying picture of the Chancellor of the University. That is Otumfosi to the second. $2 billion Temaport deal stinks. And this one is coming from DI. That's the Dankwa Institute saying that government needs to renegotiate that deal. I don't know how that's plausible, but Center Spread says has a couple of stories. I haven't quit acting, Majid Michel. That's a center spread of the Daily Guide newspaper. They call it News One pullout. It has a story also of Stan Lee, Marvel Comics co-creator, dying at the age of 95.
A legend has passed on.
Yeah, all the characters of the children right here, emanating from the brains of the man. All right, so let's look at the Daily Statesman newspaper. It says Michelle Obama on Malia's prom night, and we know that she has a new book went up for sale on Monday, I believe. And
so she's in every publication everywhere these days. Certainly catching the
that's the Daily Statesman newspaper. So also on the front page is cash for cronies. We could lose $2 billion. DI calls for renegotiation of NDC ports contracts. Africa should follow Ghana, and that's from the Emir of Qatar. And KNUST reopens on Monday. Okay. Not Friday. All right. So I think basically that will be it for the news.
Yes. And Dankwa Institute wants NDC's port contract renegotiated or looked at, scrutinized. And then they will go, and then another party will come and say, scrutinize them also. Oh, the merry-go-round of pretense, pretending to care about corruption. Fascinating. Anyway, you know, I talked about this story that is in the Finder, you risk prosecution for using the digital addressing code of other people, according to the National Identification Authority. So it's quite simple, isn't it? If you go and apply for something and they ask you for your digital address and you use that of somebody else's house, you can be prosecuted. Okay. So how will they be able to tell?
Well, is it by way of verification? Because it's something we have to think about. For example,
the thing is,
when I did mine, I had, I think, 3 or 4 addresses on a company. I'm not sure that we can even qualify for.
I had about 11.
So I had about 3. Okay, okay, that's the number of times I tried.
Okay.
So
you may have got a lot more.
Yeah, if I stood at various corners of the house. So, and we're supposed to use the foremost one, which will be the entrance, to be the address. Now, we live in communities in which you could have a big house. Just in front there, you've given it to a squatter because maybe you want to be humanitarian. So that squatter also needs that address.
But that's different, you know, because it's still your property. So if he says, I live at this man's property, he's not lying. He won't be prosecuted for that. But here's a case where, in my house alone, I got 11. Now, if I stand at my gate, I'll get 1. In fact, at my gate, I got 2. If I moved 2 inches to my neighbor's gate, I would probably still get the same one of the 2 that I had at my gate. You know, so it's geotagging. That's how this thing works. Rather than someone doing a purposeful global zoning, like in the United Kingdom, a whole street has 1 postcode. Okay, so if I live next to you, our postcode is the same anyway. I don't have to get 11 postcodes in my house. The postcode is just to identify, is to help them find your street. Then it is your house number that they'll use to identify your particular house once they get on the street. But here, we want to do geotagging. I've got to tell you, if we want to use geotagging in its raw state for addressing, and we are saying we want to do that because some people live in little kiosks and but not all people live there. So it doesn't work for all people. My next door neighbor is very likely to have the same code as mine if he did it at his gate.
Sure.
So who will be prosecuted, me or him?
Yeah. I don't know.
Anyway,
maybe
I said I'm a prophet because I talked about this once. I asked the same question to the Ghana Post GPS, the company that created Vocacom, and I didn't get an answer when I asked them.
Yeah. So perhaps my perhaps contribution will be, I think that we need to address some of these exigencies with a human face and not go strictly by the law. Already we know that there's a case in court in which someone is saying that has petitioned the court because the National Insurance Authority or National Identification Authority says that before you get registered, you need the GPS before, or the Ghana Post GPS address before you get registered, etc. Whilst we know that it's not possible for everybody to be in a position to do that. And so we need to address some of these things with a human face, knowing the type of country we have, the structure of the planning of the areas that people live. And so we try to treat them based on the exigencies or perhaps how we tend to operate in our country. There's no hard and fast rule about how to go about these things. But and if we want to get things done in a way that will be speedy, in a way that's also more expedient, then we need to approach it with a human face.
You see, Roland, what our leaders ought to be doing, you know, and this is their responsibility, is to tailor solutions to suit our unique situation. Like you just said, the solution must be tailored. You don't create a solution put it out there, start identifying some of the possible pitfalls, and then ignore them and say it will work anyway. This is how it should be. Everybody must use it, otherwise you don't get access to, basic human rights. You must tailor it. Everything must adapt. So if you put it out there, well, kudos for putting it out there. You are attempting to solve a problem. It's good. But if you realize that there are pitfalls, there are parts of it that don't work, fix them. Fix them, figure it out. And if it can't be fixed, you need to start thinking of an alternative. You can't saddle people with something that is riddled with bugs. And by bugs, I use the term, not bugs as in computer bugs, but riddled with problems, faults, things that don't make it work efficiently. You can't saddle people with it and say, I've done my part, I've spent 9 million cedis on this, therefore the whole nation must use it, whether it works or not. That is the wrong attitude.
Yeah. I agree with you too, and for me, we need to quickly have some of these things streamlined so that we can efficiently ensure that we quickly register people. For example, just yesterday we had it on the headline of, is it the Finder again, that just about 114,000 people had been registered in Adenta alone. And ideally, the Vice President, who is a leader of the Government Economic Management team, had dreamt that maybe by the close of the year would have many people registered, so that those people, if they're Kayaye or somebody, could be targeted to say that maybe you're earning this amount of money, come and pay a certain amount of taxes or something like that. And for all intents and purposes, that's one of the foremost objectives for which we're doing all these exercises.
And
we're spending a lot of money.
Exactly, since it hasn't happened, we ought to be asking the questions, how did we fail? What is it that made us unable to roll this thing out successfully to the entire nation in the time we gave ourselves?
Yeah.
Why didn't it work?
Because there was a timeline.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
why didn't it work?
To have reneged on the timeline.
Each of these things were supposed to dovetail into each other. So first we do the national addressing system, we do the national identification after that, and then we start to do other things on top of that, like taxation and this and that and that. It was supposed to follow that order. Because ideally the banks are supposed to use it. You go there, they just punch it. You have your every detail there, and then they're gone. They know your home address. Yeah. Through that, they will know that maybe or other things will come onto the system. Maybe you committed a crime somewhere in 2018 December. It's there, so they know that the next time you have a difficult, the police can also access it. Exactly. That's a reason. You can put up CCTV across the city. So if someone commits a crime and they are running away, and you capture them on CCTV with their face alone, you can identify them on a national database. You will know their address. You can go there, pick them up. You know, these things are designed to make our system work the way it works in other parts of the world, so that you can feel safe.
I think it's a basic for gathering data for everything. Yes. Once you have it, then you start loading on the various data.
There's biometric data,
the fingerprints, everything. Then use it to do matching, for example, when there's a crime and all that.
But we have started it wrong, and nobody wants to fix it. For example, biometric data. The law says only one institution in this country is mandated to collect, store, and manage biometric data. That institution is the Ghana Identification Authority. But today, even churches, some churches are collecting biometric data. Political parties are collecting it. SNIT is collecting it. DVLA is collecting it, storing it. And this is valuable, sensitive data. My fingerprints, they're everywhere. Everybody is collecting it.
Yeah, it's all because of the absence of the efficient platform.
I want to give one analogy before we go, Roland. Before we go on, sorry. Accra is a city that now is in chaos because we didn't plan it from the beginning. People were building haphazardly everywhere, wherever they like, and nobody enforced the law to ensure that we kept it organized. Now, wajin sim. That is what we are doing with our digitization process. We are not getting it right from the beginning. We are making mistakes, and we are not correcting them. So little by little, obejin sim. And it will become dangerous for all of us because our biometric data, which is valuable, useful, and can be used for all kinds of things, including framing you for crimes, will suddenly be insecure and available to any criminal who wants your downfall.
Wow. I wanted us to take a look at the president's trip to Qatar Yes. And how that dovetails into the whole agenda of making sure that ultimately we try to cut good relations, not only with neighbors, but also with some key players in the international community. Yeah. And we know that where the money is now is not only in Asia, but also in the Middle East. Yes. And the Emiratis, as well as those other aligned adjoining countries or states, have a lot of money.
Oil selling, oil-rich companies.
Yes. And the thing is, my position is this. If you look at what has been done by the Emiratis, you take Dubai, etc., it's not because of the oil. That is why they have visitors going there. They use the proceeds from what they got from the oil to create a destination where people come and do trade and commerce. Yeah. So if you live in Ghana and you want to leave Ghana to Dubai, you're not going there because you think the Arabs love you. You're going there because they want you to come and spend. Yes. So if you don't have $5,000, you don't have $10,000, you have no business going to Dubai. They don't want you to come and just sit in their restaurants for free. The food is not cheap. The accommodation is not cheap. Now, in marketing, they've created a certain value. They give you a certain value for the service that you come. So you look at the ambience. Remember, the whole of the Emiratis and the adjoining countries were deserts. Yes. They created artificial areas for you to come and enjoy and spend. And so when our leaders go there, mind you, when we get to the appointment committee and our leaders are there, you look at their CVs. They've gone to the Yales, they've gone to the Harvards, they've gone to the Oxfords, they've gone to the London School of Economics, they've gone to the Cardiffs, they've gone to the Wales, etc. They're all there. And their classmates are in their world doing marvelous things. The lessons that our leaders need to learn is the fact that how did those people get it right? If you go to Dubai, you go to those countries, initially, it was not the indigenous who were doing the work. They decided to export, get the finest brains of Americans and the Europeans. Yeah. And now they're getting the finest brains in India, in the Philippines, etc., to come and do the work for them. What examples can we learn? We always talk about this phrase, technology transfer, knowledge transfer. I'm an old man, I mean, relatively. And I don't think that we've been able to get anything or have any technology or knowledge transferred to us in any way. Yeah. Throughout my existence as an adult, we don't plan our cities well. We still have traditional authorities who are selling lands uncontrollably without any plans. So you buy a land today, your building is facing the west. Your neighbor's building is facing the east. The next 2 years, there's a kiosk in front. Nobody controls anything. So my position is, what are we learning from the places that we visit? And how can we bring those lessons into our country to improve? And I believe that the president visits is important, but we should get some lessons from those visits as well.
Yes, well, I don't know if he will stay long enough to get a lesson, but you're so right. Everything you've said is absolutely right. And of course, they have a certain advantage that we don't have. They have leaders who are not appointed poor, hoping to use their appointment as an entrepreneurial opportunity to become rich. They have people who are, who are leaders by birth and, so forth, emirs and sheikhs and so forth, who is their birthright to lead. So they are not worried about.
They are monarchs in their country.
Yeah, and they don't have special. They are not seeking personal interest through contracts and so forth, so that it will be in their interest to keep their nation corrupt and poor. Rather, their only benefit is when they are praised for doing good work. That's the only benefit. Because as for money, they already have it. They have more money that they can spend in 10 lifetimes. So they are not worried about money. They just want the people to say, this is a great leader. That's all. That's their only motivation. So of course they will bring people from outside. Of course they will pay them well to do a good job for their people. But we're not interested in that. We're interested in the person who will give us the biggest envelope under the table.
Mashallah. Shukran. Well, let's go to look at myjoyonline.com, Kojo. And we have a couple of stories there. Can we take a look at them?
Sure. Okay, let's see what we have here. We'll start off with this one. Defunct UT Bank chases Woyome for 9.4 million Ghana cedi debt. Also, Dagbon protests, new region will not affect traditional boundaries. That's what Dan Boche is reassuring the people who are unhappy with the proposed split. KNUST teacher unions restore suspended services, and there was a joint statement to that effect. EC Commissioner goes soul winning at Accra Mall. Isn't that interesting? One of the commissioners was preaching at the Accra Mall. Several people have commented on that on social media. Government accused of distributing expiring fertilizers to farmers. Ah, Razi. Yeah, will this happen in Dubai? CNN sues Trump and top White House aides for barring Acosta. And I saw a response to this by Fox News, who said, why is Acosta so special? CNN still has dozens of people who have access to the White House. It's kind of like saying that a black man was shot. Why are black people upset? After all, millions of black people have not been shot.
But we all have the videos and know what the response was.
Fox News is an interesting channel. Recession. Minority offers bleak diagnosis of economy. Picture of Kasel Atoforsen there. And Dagbon youth fight to keep Shrepone out of new region. And that is what Dambuche was responding to in that earlier story. Minority predicts more taxes. We've already talked about that. And I guess those are the big ones from myjoyonline.com.
All right. We have to take a break for sports. We have Benedict Owusu. He played golf yesterday evening, but he's coming to give us the latest updates, not from the world of golf, but some others. We know that is it the Black Princesses?
Who are playing currently in the tournament.
Okay, Black Maidens.
They massacred Uruguay. Yes, well, I guess that might be the only level at which Ghana gets to massacre Uruguay in a football match, but I'm grateful for it. It feels good. I'm so glad. Uruguay are arch enemies after they kicked us out of the World Cup the other time. Yes.
All right, so we have to take a break. When we come back, we'll bring you the latest sports stories. Stay with us.